I'm Jenna Love from the Somebody You Love podcast. I work in the adult industry, and this question is, do you ever have to go into energy saving mode when you're with a client? This is from Evelyn Wood, who is a worker. And she says, because boy, I'm a gremlin from like 2 to 5 p.m. and I need a tea to pep back up, and it affects the quality of my work like a lot. I think this is a really great question. I think this is something that is a testament to how great it can be to have flexibility of work hours. Unfortunately, it can take a while to work out what works for you. When I first started working in this industry, because at that time my husband was leaving the house at 6 or 6:30ish, about 6 in the morning. And so I was like, cool, well, I can start work at 6 or at 7. And I took a few bookings like that. And I was like, this is not good for me nor the client. This is not peak me time. And I've since learned that that's just not a good idea. I'm not very functional at that point. So even though I can work at that time, it's not a good idea. So it's not a good idea long term either. And then for a while, I was starting at like 9, because I had kind of a limited amount of hours in my day because my husband's work hours were shorter. And of course, I can work after he's home, but I generally don't offer in calls when he's home for obvious reasons. Now he works at like a later kind of hours. So I generally don't actually start till 11 a.m., which is fairly late for a lot of people. And it works so well for me. I just have found that that's where it works. Same with when I was on tour. I used to be like, well, I could just work all the way through the night. There's no reason why I couldn't. And I discovered that working past 11 p.m., I'm not at my best. I am not able to provide the best service because I'm half asleep. So I know that I'm not a morning or a night person. I'm a sleep person. I like to sleep. I've got a good few hours in the middle of the day, and that's that. So I think a big part of it is just choosing your work hours. Of course, I have to acknowledge there is a lot of privilege in that, because I'm at a point where I can say, these are the hours I'm working, and that's that. I'm not going to take bookings outside of those hours. Whereas obviously, if your income is a little bit more unstable, you're not as certain about what future income you're going to have, then you're going to be more likely to take bookings when you may not want to, because you think, well, I've got to take it because it's there and tomorrow it may not be there. So that's, I guess, the pros and cons of the flexibility and the ups and downs of this industry. Is it's great because you can work around your needs, but at the same time, it's ever changing. All of that being said, I've had plenty of times when I've been like getting ready, blah, 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 and then the client's arriving in like 5-10 minutes. So I'm looking at the clock for some reason as though that's actually what's happening. Well, there is one coming in like 20. But anyway, I'm getting ready and I'm like, okay, cool, they're going to be in 10 minutes. And then I'm like, oh, and I just crash. Like I just am like, I'm so exhausted all of a sudden. So it definitely does happen. And I've just got to like G myself up. I do that with music. I do that with a bit of like face slapping, not hard, but like, a bit of that. I guess my experience working in the theater, I've got good like warm up exercises and stuff. So I'll do a bit of that sort of thing just to bring my energy back. But yeah, I've definitely been in that situation. I also had one situation many, many years ago where halfway through the booking, I started feeling so sick. I was going down on a man and I was like, I'm going to vomit. And it wasn't him. Like it turned out, yeah, I had gastro. And I was like, I stopped and said, I just got to go to the bathroom. I'm so sorry. Vomited, came back, and I was like, I can't, I'm really sick. I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. He's like, the money was still on I said, take your money. And he was like really disappointed, which understandable, but also I was like, what do you want me to do? I'm vomiting here. Like, this isn't good for you either. And I've returned all your money. Like, dude. But yeah, so sometimes, things happen. But yeah, if possible, I mean, my suggestion would be just to not take bookings during those hours. I guess when we're talking about longer bookings, that's harder. Like if you're doing 48 hours or 24 hours or something, you can't just not do those few hours, but you could speak to the client beforehand and say, look, I'm actually a zombie at this part of the day. How would you feel about me either having a nap then? We could have a nap together, or just having a bit of separate time then. You can kind of negotiate that stuff. And I think the client will appreciate you being upfront about your needs, especially because in those longer bookings, in our work, sometimes it can feel like you're not allowed to be a human. which is ridiculous because what people are paying for is to spend time with a human. But in, an hour, the amount of times you're like, oh, just hold it in for that time, or just push through until it's over. But I think in longer bookings, the clients understand that they are spending more time with you. And it's going to be the same with them. Like, they might get tired at certain times too. And you are two people who have to kind of navigate, like, it's not unusual before an overnight booking to have a conversation with a client where they're like, so what kind of time do you normally go to bed? Like, are you an early riser? Are you a late? Like, what's the deal? Because you kind of have to navigate that. And it's a bit more like real life, I guess. And I just think you have a bit more space to be human, even though we should always have space to be human, because that's literally what we are.